Another huge thing that is going to be implemented, and it is, we need to dedicate more time to this because it is the story of the story of all stories. And it's just, we don't talk about it. We talked about it a few times in the past, but it needs to be hit so much more often because it's going to wreck your world. And it's being implemented right now in increments in America. It's going to be implemented like in a radical sense throughout Europe very soon. And it's going to change our way of life. And that is ESG. It's ESG. And the WEF has pledged allegiance to ESG, which stands for environmental, social, and really you could say social justice, but social governance, okay? Now, this week's meeting, it was filled with ESG themes. It was filled with ESG messages. The only thing that was missing is actually the term ESG. And I don't know what that means. I don't know if they're catching on like, hey, we need to change up this word.
Need to rebrand.
Yes, but it was all over how corporate leaders should be using their companies' resources to tackle the social and environmental issues of our time, and how the leaders of these companies must change the way capitalism works. ESG is corporate socialism. Corporate socialism. And just by way of quick review, we've talked about the social credit score in China many times on this show and how it's coming to America. It is, and it's called ESG. So China's social credit score, everyone is assigned a number, a report card. Think of like a credit, just a simple credit score. But it's a little different. It's a little more invasive, where every daily activity in the digital and the physical world is constantly monitored in your own personal life and evaluated. Your score will be changed upon your activities. With insane ramifications, you do the simplest things that the government does not deem worthy of its citizens, right? You better have the right religion, the right views towards government, and they're monitoring what you're saying. They're monitoring your chats even. You better have the right friends with good scores on social media platforms that also have the right views of the government. You better shop in the right stores. You better read the right books. You better do as you're told, or you won't be able to do things like shop at your favorite stores. You'll be barred from even like playing on certain golf courses. You'll be banned from your favorite restaurants. Your kids will be denied access to certain schools all across China. You will be banned from leaving the country. Because listen, if you're not representing China how we want to be represented, you're not leaving.
Yeah.
And you'll be banned from even taking a train to the next city. That is what is coming in a more democratized way, a more secretive, sinister way, because China can just say, that's what we're doing, right? This is how ESG will affect you. It will influence every financial aspect of your life, your car loans, your business loans, and more. It's all thanks to partnerships between America's biggest banks, the federal government, global groups like the World Economic Forum. It's just begun. We've talked about before how we learned, and then we researched it and verified it, that it was actually the Heartland Institute's Justin Haskins who has described how Merrill Lynch is already assigning ESG credit scores for customers, not just companies. We know that many banks are already prescribing ESG scores in America for companies. Like I said, it stands for environmental, social, justice, governance. And you may not think it affects you quite yet, but soon a low score based on things like the products you buy or how much electricity you use could significantly impact your life in a crazy way. And here's where it's going to change very quickly. ESG is about to be codified in the EU. This will radically affect all of us in the US. This is going to change your life. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of companies in the USA that will fall under this new law from the EU, including Ford, including McDonald's. Now, how? How will it affect these companies? I want to play a clip of Glenn Beck talking about the tentacles of ESG It's the tentacles of ESG reaching into every nook and cranny of our society that will destroy our world. Play this clip.
Every single company must be part of the ESG program, or they cannot do business with them. Now, let's just imagine McDonald's, and this is coming because Europe is adopting the ESG standards
as law, mandatory.
Mandatory.
Yes.
So every company that does business in Europe will have to adhere to those standards. So think about McDonald's. Every corporation, every company, every mom and pop farmer that grows potatoes or meat will have to adhere to the EU standards. Otherwise, you'll lose McDonald's. But it's not just that you have to grow them the way they want grown and adopt their, environmental and social justice standards, but even the potato farmer, anyone who supplies him also has to abide by ESG standards. The tentacles of this thing will change America just because we do business with the EU.
Yes. This is a fundamental transformation of the entire Western world, of all of Europe, Canada,
Overnight.
and the United States, essentially overnight. They've already moved it through. There's sort of three bodies in the European Union that are involved in lawmaking, and it's already been approved by all three of them in some degree. Right now, they're just trying to figure out how do we reconcile our slight differences. I've looked at all of them. They're all basically the same with just small changes. And you're exactly right. The way it works is large companies that operate in Europe, which is basically the vast majority of large companies in the United States, have a certain amount of revenue in Europe. That means they have to adhere to the ESG system, which means they have to impose it on everyone in their entire supply chain globally, no matter who they are, where they work, how large they are, etc.
And if they don't have an ESG score for that company, because the company's like, I'm not doing it, they cannot buy the products. So the score has to be done in America.